All right. Welcome to the Strong Life Coach podcast, where we speak life, coach life, write life, and lead life. Today, we're joined in the podcast studio. We're in Akron, Ohio.
Yep.
We're here with Rob Cochran. Rob, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me.
So I'm excited about what we're going to be able to share because one, I'm inspired by you and your story, but then I'm also inspired by the content you're going to be able to share with people that are tuning in. I think they're going to be able to grow and be benefited by the principles that you've learned along the way, and you're going to pass on to them.
Great. Sounds awesome.
So for people that don't know you, want to make sure we go through your profile.
Okay.
And then if I have any of this off, you just jump in and correct me. It's
All right.
completely fine. So you started as a baseball player at high school. You made the all-state team.
Right.
As an outfielder, you have the highest batting average record in your high school.
That's right.
Which has stood for 20 years and going.
Yep.
All right.
Yep.
And you also have the most stolen bases in your high school's history.
That's right.
All right. And then now you went from high school to Norfolk State University on a Division I scholarship. Is that
right.
accurate?
Yep.
And then you were an outfielder and you were a catcher.
Yes. A little bit complicated. The catcher wasn't my plan, but yes. That's
Okay.
what it ended up playing in college.
And we're going to have to dig into that and figure out a little bit about what happened there. Then you went from Norfolk State University to Old Dominion University, where you double majored in philosophy and psychology.
Right.
And then you've had leadership positions in Virginia, Texas, and Maryland. You've been on mission teams in your church. At least now you're on the mission team, rather in Akron, Ohio, Akron, Canton, and you also helped the organization to get to self-supporting within the first 3 years.
Right. That's right.
And another thing we have here is what you were able to do in Maryland in the campus ministry. You're able to help a region to develop it, the campus ministry rather, to develop into a region in College Park. And at the University of Maryland.
Yep, that's right.
And something that's really impressive that I've seen on social media. My wife actually, I don't do a lot of reading on social media, so anything that I learned about somebody else, it's my wife has to hand me her phone and see it on her screen. But you were able to raise $10,000 in a single day for a nonprofit organization.
That's right.
Okay.
Doing
so
a lift
all right.
on.
So we want to put it out there so people tuning in, they hear that little intro. We want to bring them back into the conversation. So we're going to circle back on a few areas of your profile so people understand what took place.
Okay.
So I know you're influential in the powerlifting community as well, which we'll also circle back to. So why don't we start off going back to how you transitioned as an outfielder. You were all state in high school.
Right.
To then you had a catching role. You were as a catcher in college. What happened there? What took place?
Sure. Well, it's a very different skill set. I gotta say that wasn't my choice or by design per se. So I got recruited as an outfielder to be the leadoff hitter and center fielder for Norfolk State University. In preparation for starting my freshman year, I worked out really hard. Gained some weight.
All right.
That's what happens when you work out hard. So simultaneously, unbeknownst to me, all of our catchers became academically ineligible. Now this stuff happens in any college.
Right. It does happen behind the scenes.
So one of my coaches comes to me. I'm getting ready for practice, and all of a sudden, I get dubbed to start catching bullpen for the pitchers. And I said, I honestly, I haven't caught since Little League, so I didn't even own a cup at the time. We had to go back and up the equipment needed to do the whole thing. So quite a learning experience, I gotta say.
So did you ever go, hey, why me? All the people on the team, you're a freshman at the time,
right?
But did you ever ask, why was I selected for this?
Yeah, they told me. They said because I'm the lowest guy on the totem pole. Again, collegiate sports. This is how it happens, and I didn't take any offense to it. I said I'll do my best. Just point me in the right direction. But yeah, it was a painful process to learn how to catch at that level with guys throwing in their mid 90s and all kinds of off-speed pitches in the dirt. So absolutely, it was quite a learning experience.
And then. As far as the age or the class that your pitcher was in, where was he?
Right. Oh, I mean, he was a senior. Our starting pitcher. He actually got drafted So this guy's throwing 98 miles
my
an hour
goodness.
consistently.
Yes.
Had command of 3 or 4 different pitches. So he would have bad days and tell me as I saw him on campus, hey, I'm going to beat you up today in the bullpen.
Man.
I'm going to take it out on you. So we had to work on our relationship.
It is one of those things that I've wondered, what's the relationship like? What if he's having a bad day, as you mentioned?
Right.
What if he's having a good day? What is the communication like in that relationship? But even I'm wondering how he viewed you as a freshman.
Right.
He's a senior, and then if he was drafted, he wasn't just an average senior. He was a stud.
Right. Absolutely.
So how did you go about that relationship? Whether it was when you were playing or even when you weren't playing?
Right. Oh, I think in general, as a freshman on campus, especially when you're all of a sudden grouped with a community of upperclassmen, you pretty much get treated like garbage and you just get used to it.
Yeah, right.
So,
right.
We'd see each other on campus. You get used to being hazed. You get used to, being put in humbling circumstances, but it comes with the territory.
Right.
One day that's not going to be you.
And you'll be able to do it to somebody else.
So you just have to have a good sense of humor, be flexible. But absolutely, I think right away, just taking a lot of pitches in the dirt, man, in the wrists, in the fingers, just on your shins, under the mask. We worked on our relationship a lot. I found myself constantly trying to figure out how can I make this guy's day better.
Yeah,
so that
smart.
the whole experience is better for me, the team, for him. So absolutely, we learned a lot really quick.
How did you maybe even stay grounded? Because sometimes, if he's having a bad day, he gets to take it out on you.
Absolutely.
If you're having a bad day, it's not like you take it out on him.
Right.
So how did you stay grounded in that experience?
So this is what sort of led into me wanting to get into just powerlifting.
Okay.
Because, I didn't like the whole process. I'm going to take this out on somebody else.
Right.
So what I do is I take all that frustration, negativity, and bring it to the weight room, and then I would just leave it there, feeling neutralized, feeling great.
Okay, so then your outlet wasn't so much, hey, let me take revenge on him,
right?
But let me go harder when it came to training, lifting weights,
right,
getting myself to that next level.
Absolutely, and putting it back into the game, leaving it on the field. Absolutely. I just found myself lucky as a freshman being able to play with these guys.
Yeah,
that's honestly how I felt.
Big time stepping into those shoes, and then. And I know something like whenever I'm watching baseball, which isn't a whole lot, but whenever I do, I kind of see the signs that the catcher is trying to give to the pitcher, and then so what is that process like? What happens behind the scenes?
Oh, there's a lot of three-way communication. So, it depends on the coaches, how the kind of liberty that they give to the pitchers to decide or call the game, or sometimes the catchers call the game. But there's three-way communication. I'm looking over to the third base line to get the sign from the coach. What does he want? I give the sign to the pitcher. He shakes it off or says yes. He shakes it off. I look over, see what the coach wants to do, communicate it again.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of three-way communication at the end of the day. It really is going to come down to what the pitching coach wants to do.
Right.
So
then is there a time frame? You have like a 30-second window to like, hey, here's what it is, get the sign, shakes it off, back to the. You can't go all day, or
you would hope so. But this is one of those things that really makes a baseball game drag. As far as from a spectator's point of view. So, 30 seconds. There's a lot of communication that can happen in 30 seconds to a minute, but it really all depends. Every pitcher has their own routine when they're on the mound. They may take another minute just to get set for the pitch anyway. So there's a lot of freedom and liberty there, but we try to keep the game moving for everybody's sake.
Now, did you have times where you didn't know what the pitcher was going to do because he shook off everything you offered?
Absolutely.
And then you just have to respond to whatever's thrown.
Absolutely. The one sign I would always give if they kept shaking everything off was, this.
Just like, the finger.
Just throw it.
Okay. And for those listening who are not seeing the video, that's an index finger that he was
between
bringing.
The legs.
Well, good. So then you had that experience as a catcher and outfielder in the college arena.
Right.
And then even what you've gotten into now is you're into powerlifting. What got you into powerlifting? And how is it helping you?
Absolutely. Well, I've always loved lifting, man. It definitely helped with sports. For me, it was one of those things I got into because it was, like I said, an outlet for me to be able to process. There's no classes in high school, middle school. Hey, how do you process negativity in life? What do you do that makes you feel good? So I use powerlifting as it's my medicine. For me, that's therapy.
Right.
You know, this is the place where I can go. I can process how I'm feeling about things. And if it's negative, I leave it all there. I end up feeling great and centered, focused when I leave there, ready to be productive. So for me, I don't really have a goal, a weight loss, weight gaining goal. I don't have an image that I'm trying to obtain in my mind. I use it because for me, it's medicine and I love it. It makes me feel good.
I'm hearing that you enjoy the process. So
process.
It's the process. That's what you're in it for.
Right.
It's the process.
And people think that's odd. They say, what do you do for fun? I say, I power lift. They're like, no, what do you do for fun? Actually go work out for fun. For me, that's fun. And I love it. And so I know that's odd for people, but I love how it makes me feel. I love to see progress.
Sure. And in your profession, in leading a church, I imagine there are endless responsibilities that you can get tied up in.
Absolutely.
I mean, you and I talked about this idea. I mean, you wear so many different hats, especially as a smaller church leader. But you could be caught up in learning website, development. You could be, audio, video. It could be, lesson preparation. And there's countless needs in the community of people that need your encouragement, your support, your counseling or your coaching. I think it's a powerful thing, and no pun intended, just to be able to have a healthy outlet to go to, as there are so many needs that are always around you as a church leader.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. And it's interesting, even when people find out what I do that aren't a part of the church, it's sort of a natural thing for someone to then want to open up and share how they're doing. And so it's a people profession. People like to share how they're doing with me, and they look to me to take that on and process that and point them in the right direction, give them some hope and some encouragement.
Yes.
So I've got to always be ready to be able to be giving to other people and take on whatever it is that's on their mind and they're going through. For me, having a great prayer life and staying in the gym helps me be in that place.
And even as I talk to other leaders or leading different organizations, and it's like, it really is almost any leadership position has the potential to have endless responsibilities that are never going away.
Absolutely.
But the principle of being able to have a place to help you out mentally, emotionally, but the powerful thing is, in our faith, one goal we have as far as being influential in our communities is how can I create common experiences? How could I can stay on common ground? But being in the gym seems to be a great way to build common ground with other guys that are working out.
Oh, absolutely. The gym is one of the most open places for men, safe places for men that you could ever go to. From my experiences, it's probably for men that are non-Christians outside of maybe a bar, people will subconsciously just open up.
Sure.
You see the same people, same times and days of the week. All of a sudden you start building a relationship. When they see that you're a person that's committed to coming at same time, same place, similar goals, people just naturally want to open up to you. And so the environment itself, you become part of this community, and whether people want to accept the responsibility or not, you can influence that community in a positive way or a negative way. And so I go into these communities, the gym, and I want to have a positive impact. I want to help people. I want people to do well around me. I want to help other people become Christians. I want to share the things God's done in my life. And so I do set out to achieve that as well. And
it seems to be one of those areas where it helps. I mean, you're thinking socially, emotionally, mentally. I mean, it helps you to unwind from the stress that you have in your professional life, and to be able to be more available for your family. So it's one of those things where it's counterintuitive in a lot of ways. Even what you mentioned, I think the other counterintuitive concept that you mentioned was it's one of the more open places,
Right.
right? Outside looking in, you go,
Sure.
it's a workout gym, meathead, like,
Right.
hey, these guys aren't open,
They
not
look intimidating.
talking. They have their headphones on the whole time. Surely it's just music
Right.
and lifting and no intimate connection.
Oh, yeah.
But you're telling me you're seeing the opposite.
It is the opposite. There's a lot of camaraderie. I mean, when you start seeing people dedicate themselves to making themselves better, everybody wants encouragement. And so we cheer each other on. There's also then a layer of accountability of pushing each other. What can I do to help you? Do you need a spot?
Right.
And we help each other share how your form is and all this. If somebody doesn't show up for a couple of weeks, hey, we haven't seen you. What's going on?
Right.
And so it creates this
That's
natural.
love.
It is, and it creates a natural openness where we start to care about each other, and we want the best for everybody.
I love that.
Yeah.
Hey, so you're leading a church out there. You're tuning in, Powerlifting. You may want to get into it.
That's right.
And tap that community.
Yep.
So as a church leader, how have you gone about using powerlifting to be influential?
Oh, that's a great question. Because it's a community, and powerlifting is one of those sort of outlier, taboo, fascinating sports for people. I think people love to watch other people do crazy things and lift heavy amounts, and the heavier the better, the crazier the better, right? And so one of the things, our first year being here on a mission team, is I wanted to do a fundraiser,
sure,
which you alluded to earlier, called a lift-a-thon. And so I asked the gym owner, hey, can I run this event out of your gym and, rep the gym's name and location, put it out there for this fundraiser. And here's what I'm trying to do. It's crazy. No one does this stuff, but I wanted to deadlift. The first year I did 315 pounds 100 times.
100
No one does this. 100 times. So that first year, it got so much buzz and support online that we were, by the grace of God, able to raise $10,000.
$10,000 on one day.
Right.
And it was one set.
No, not one set. 10 sets.
10 sets. 10 sets. Still. I mean, how much? What was the time frame that took? And you did it all. It was on Facebook Live?
All live on Facebook.
Okay, so it wasn't like, hey, I did it, by the way, guys. Just so y'all know, But it was, if you want to watch this happen, here's the date that it's happening.
Right.
You can tune in to watch the grind.
Sure. Yeah, I made it an interactive event on Facebook Live, and it took just under an hour to do the whole thing.
Just under an hour.
Yep.
Which is crazy. To raise $10,000 in an hour.
Right.
People would love to make, to raise that, in 6 months or a year. Hey, I found a way to raise $10,000 this year.
Right.
You were able to do that in 1 hour. What roadblocks did you have to overcome?
Oh, so this is sort of, if I could backtrack a little bit. So anybody tuning in to look at it, it looks like it's just an hour, equated to $10,000, right?
Sure.
In reality, and this is where the community comes into play, because the community got to know me. They got to see me for months practice and do lots of sets of this weight repeatedly. And so it started to people ask a lot of questions. Why are you doing this? Why would you do this?
Right.
Why would you risk your health and injury to do this? So, it is a perfect segue for me to say, I'm willing to do this when no one else is, because of the cause. I really want to raise money and that year was to hire a campus minister to be a positive influence and spread the gospel message on our local campuses.
Yes.
And so people really wanted that. And so while they may not be willing to join me in training that way, because it is definitely a grind, they supported the fact that it was hard, it's challenging. And we did get a lot of people tune in to see, can this guy even do this? Is it possible?
Right.
And I'd ask myself the same thing, but I got a chance to meet a lot of different people and influence a lot of people in that gym community doing something like that. So
now, they supported you verbally or
verbally and financially. Some of these people contributed as well.
So people not only were like, hey, bro, you got this, but also you got this. and I'm not part of your church, but I would love to be able to contribute to your mission and your cause.
Absolutely. I think when people know how hard that is, and they know how hard you're willing to work to achieve a goal, a lot of people will respect just even the process. It's not like I was standing out asking for money on the corner and I'm willing to do nothing. I was trying to do something the total opposite. While people may not believe in the cause, hey, I'm doing this in our community for our community, and I'm doing it in a crazy way. And so I think people in general are, if nothing else, entertained by it.
Yes. You know? Wow. It's incredibly impressive. And you didn't just hit 100.
Right.
How many reps did you end up doing?
I think that first year it was 118.
So tell me what was going through your mind at 100. Why even go? What was with the additional 18? What was that?
I think it was just extra measure. Like I was just trying, if people were tuning in, wanting to see if I could do it, not sure if they were going to support. I was like, hey, I'll go the extra mile. If you go the extra mile, I'll go till I don't have anything left to give. Let's try.
Okay.
So, hey, $10,000. I'd say it was worth it.
Come on. That's right. I mean, you're still walking around. That's right. You're still lifting. Yeah. So the body's doing okay.
Sure.
Okay. Awesome.
That's right.
So $10,000 is a big deal. Now, you've also done your part to see change in the powerlifting community since you've been involved here in Akron. In what ways have you seen change?
Absolutely. So the first gym I joined when we moved here to start the church was in Akron, and I didn't even have a workout partner, anything like that. My first week at the gym, I meet this guy. Funny enough, his name is Rob too. So I meet this guy, we hit it off. His strengths are my weak points and vice versa. So we said, hey, why don't we work out together? We synced up our schedules and our workout time. We started working out together. And so one of my greatest joys, in fact, since being here, being part of the church, is over the course of that year, working out with my friend Rob, I got a chance to see him become a Christian.
Yes.
So that was a big deal. He's in his mid 40s, recently, ended a relationship. And so, when you're later on in life, you have more stuff to work through. And so I got to see him change his whole life around, see him come to faith. Nice. And be willing to put Christ first in his life. And it's just one of the biggest joys that I've experienced since I've been here. Even now, to see him continue to grow and be not only a friend, but a confidant, somebody I can trust and rely in. And to see him sharing his faith and trying to impact people in the community as well. It just, you see it taking root and making an impact. So
that's amazing. And to think, the workout partner, I mean, it could have been anybody.
Could have been anybody.
And to see that what was happening was somebody was placed in your life and you're pursuing a complete non-faith activity, right? It's just, hey, well, let's just work out together.
Right.
And then you can't really, what I always think about, people who are full of faith and who are walking in that path, you can't be around them very long without hearing about it.
Absolutely.
Hearing whether what they're learning, or because as a church leader, you speak about it often. So you're going over content for that, what you're going to be covering. I mean, you can't be around you very long without hearing what you're passionate about, which is not just working out, but also your faith.
Right. Absolutely. And because of my role as well, a lot of times people will come ready with their own questions because they have access to now a minister in their free time. And so it's funny how that works. People, I think, again, subconsciously just open up.
Right.
And so we're talking about life. We're talking about real things. They ask me, have I ever been in those situations? What would I do?
Yes.
And every time I get asked those questions is an opportunity to influence somebody with the scriptures. And I get this chance to share personally how doing it his way has changed my life for the better.
Right.
So absolutely.
And it's probably one of my favorite ways to just influence people is this focus on common ground.
Right.
Like, what do we have in common? How are we the same? and focus my attention there.
Right.
And I've seen so many opportunities to be able to help people, elevate
Right.
them, give them a divine principle from His Word.
That's right.
Just focusing on what we have in common.
We have so much more in common,
right?
You know, with people. I mean, than we think about. You know, it's not the only thing that makes us different and the outcome of our lives different is that we actually have this faith and we abide in the faith. And so everything else we should be able to relate to people.
That's
on,
right.
You know, hardships, loss, joy, challenges, obstacles. We have so much in common with everybody. And I just think that's where faith and hope comes into play.
Yes. So. And it's so easy not to do that though.
Right.
And to focus on how we're different. You know, like, hey, I go to church, you don't. Sure. And instead of talking to you about what we have in common, I could talk to you about how different we are.
Right.
And I'll talk to you about my church, which again, there's nothing wrong with talking about church.
Right.
But at some point in the relationship, it's a difference.
Right.
And what people can feel that are not like churchgoers, they could be like, okay, well, I go to church, you don't.
Right.
So they're feeling like, hey, I'm saying I'm up here and you're down here.
Sure.
So not only are we different, but my difference is better than yours.
Right.
And but as opposed to, again, focus on what we have in common and then allowing those opportunities to be able to connect.
Sure.
To really take place.
Yep. Absolutely.
So great conversation. I'm excited to meet Rob and to hear from him. Let's segue to talk about your role as a church leader. One of the things that you do, and even this weekend, you had me in. I did a workshop for the church on yesterday. It was a 2-hour workshop.
Absolutely.
And then
fantastic job.
Thank you. And I'll be speaking again tonight. And I know I've thanked you because objectively, I understand there's risk involved.
Right.
Like, you can't ask anybody to do it, but what goes in to your decision to have somebody to come to your church and to influence them, to speak to them? I know it's not something that's just flippant, right? It's not just anybody.
Right.
But what goes into your process into allowing somebody to come in and speak to your group?
Absolutely. That's a great question. First of all, you did a fantastic job.
Oh, thank you.
Workshop. I mean, anytime somebody wants to come in and address the church, I get these requests from time to time. I always have to ask myself, well, what is their intent?
Yes.
And I try to ask questions about their lives, who's following, what responsibilities does this person have? Are they capable and in the right shape to be able to address a group of people that, you know, I have in my care and that I want to continue to have their faith challenged and matured and encouraged every week. So for me, you know, for you, for example, here's what I know about you. Okay, you've never done a prayer workshop before. Never, right? Or a workshop with a church. But here's what I do know. I know that you have a lot of humility. I know that you get a lot of input from other people and you put it into practice. That's what I know. So you're a great learner. You're a great listener. I also know that you have a personal ministry back home in San Antonio that you and your wife had in your care for many years. It was growing. It's the group is larger than our whole church. And so I know that people aren't going to give that responsibility and those roles out for nothing. And so if all these things are entrusted in you and you're entrusted to you, you do a good job with it and it's bearing fruit, you're having a positive impact. In addition to the fact that in the corporate world, the big company that you worked for paid you a salary, you made a living communicating to other businesses. They entrusted their business to you. Here's a guy that I can look at. It doesn't take me a lot of faith to say, hey, I can entrust this guy to come in and speak to my church for a couple hours on Saturday and Sunday. And he's going to do a good job because that's your skill. You're talented at that.
Yes. I think you hit a lot of fantastic points. One, you captured this idea of what's trusted to them right now, which when I think about that, and even for people, and people ask me, because as a speaker for a living, they're like, well, how do you do it? You know, how do you even get opportunities? Like, how do those things come to you? Well, part of it is what's in your life. Like, how are you being responsible, reliable with what's in your life right now?
Exactly.
And if you can be responsible for what's in your life right now, then people gain the confidence to put their trust in you.
Sure.
And even like, as you said, when you see somebody else trust in me, then you go, okay, well, maybe I can trust him too.
Right.
And even as you know, business building, this motivational speaking business,
right.
and this is a great opportunity. And again, I know I said thank you before, but thank you for taking the risk on me. And
absolutely,
because
it was worth it.
As I come here to Ohio, I've never been to Ohio before.
Right.
My speaking portfolio right now consists of, you know, around the state of Texas, Oklahoma, and now Ohio.
Right.
And without somebody like you who saw something in me, and then taking the risk in believing in me, I'm excited to see what other doors and opportunities come from this. But again, I think it helps people to think about that. And sometimes you take on responsibility. You don't know what's going to, like for people listening in, there's responsibilities that are in their grasp right now.
Right.
And you may not know, for me, 4 or 5 years, whenever it was, when we said, hey, my wife and I, we were asked to lead a single professionals group in our church. We're working full time. Do we want to do this? Let's pray on it.
Right.
Okay, let's do it.
Right.
But I couldn't have predicted then that saying yes to that opportunity just to serve, help, lead, would 5 years from now,
you'd be here now.
This is going to give me the opportunity to be in Ohio to do something I've never done before, which is a workshop. But
and you'll look back on this time now, and having done such a great job with this, and it'll be a starting point. You know, this is a launching point,
right?
Because more opportunities will come your way when you continue to do a good job with what's being asked of you and what's being given to you. And so, you know, I'm actually, you know, another aspect to that is that because you're not in high demand at the moment, I know I can ask this of you and you're going to do a great job with it because you're hungry.
Right. No, and for real.
You're hungry and you're talented. And so for me, that's the perfect combination for small businesses, for small churches, because we know you're going to do a great job. You're not so booked. You're not going to, you know, give all the fine details and extra effort that you can give, right? Because you're not leaving here going to the next gig. And so, you know, it's awesome. But one day you are going to be in that situation. And so that's the sort of the irony of it. But you did a great job. And, you know, that's kind of what I look for. Who's following you? What kind of influence do you have currently? Are you doing a good job with that influence? Does the church recognize that? The world recognizes it? And then I look at someone like yourself and say, well, I can recognize that, and I have no problem giving you an opportunity.
Appreciate that. Yeah. No, I appreciate that big time. I think you hit this idea of, because when people think about the responsibilities before them, one thing I've seen, you've probably seen this as well, where fear stops them.
Totally.
And we were asked about leading a singles ministry. Like questions we had, fears we had were, could we do a great job?
Right.
With our 40 or 45, 50 hour a week job, could we do this justice? Can we help and contribute in a way that's meaningful, that is building people up? And if we believe that we could, or maybe, I don't know if we got to a point where we believe we could or not, but let's do it afraid. Right. Or the other quote I heard is like, to build your wings on the way down. Absolutely. To leap and start building. Right. And if this goes great. If it doesn't, at the very least, we'll have these shortcomings to learn from and go, I know it doesn't work. It's
all positive experience. Yeah. You know, failure is a positive experience. If you're in it to grow and you're going to try to get better, you have to put yourself out there, and you've got to put your talents to the test to continue to get better. And so it all is going to start with that first opportunity. Yes. You just got to put yourself in a position to say yes.
And I've seen how sometimes the entire vision isn't laid out for you. Right. It's just the next 2 steps are. Right. I can see what step 1 and step 2 is. Again, for people listening, you may not know the next 20 steps outlined. If I do this, if I lead this group, then I'm going to be able to speak, 1,000 miles away, or whatever the distance is from here to San Antonio. But the big thing is to take that first step, do it afraid, do something, risk now, because you don't know what's going to open up doors for you just by taking responsibility for what's around me right now.
Absolutely.
And the other thing I think it came to me was how people brand themselves on social media now.
Right.
And
that's true.
And so I try to be strategic, whether, I'm effective at it or not, people tuning in can let me know. But if I'm given responsibilities, I don't want to be the guy who's like bragging and boasting. Oh, look at me, how great I am. And everybody trusts me. But I do want people to know, a couple of weeks ago, they asked me to do a panelist in front of 400 or 500 people, in a local church in San Antonio. So I was like, okay, this is kind of cool.
Right.
Let me just be thankful, gracious that they gave the opportunity.
Right.
But now anybody who tunes in or who's keeping up with what I'm doing, they go, oh, well, somebody trusts them out there. But it speaks to branding, in the corporate, we talk about your corporate brand or your brand as a business.
Right.
We talk about it as personally, just your reputation.
Right.
Like, what are you known for and how are you using your social media to build, to help or to hinder your reputation?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, social media is an interesting thing today. It's a powerful tool, and it's going to impact you one way or the other. I've heard it said many times. It's like if you don't have that presence, it's like you don't exist.
Right.
Maybe not in reality, but the reality is social media is here to stay. So a lot of people are on there, and if you want to get the word out, you've got to be on there. So
yes,
got to use it
big time. And so if people tuning in again, to purposefully build that reputation out and to think about how you can use your social media to help people. And that's what all I'm doing is trying to help people.
Right.
Like, period. If you asked what's the one word, help.
Right.
But I want that to be a part of what I'm known for.
Sure.
And so how can I post content that helps people?
Sure.
And then, as you said, people take notice, and it could be a great launching pad for other opportunities. So let's segue to talk about, as a church leader, one of your core responsibilities is leading volunteer leaders. So what principles can you share have been the most helpful to you in leading leaders?
Right. Oh, man. So in the church setting, all of the leadership, most of our leadership in our churches is, like you said, it's all volunteer-based. People, they're giving you their time. They're giving you their efforts. In some ways, their lives, they're all their free time, not all of it, but they're giving you the free time. And so I think the first thing is just not making it know that you're not going to take that for granted.
Yes.
That they are important, their efforts, their ideas are important. So one of the things that for me, as far as, lay leaders, helping encourage them and to grow, is I would never ask them to do something that I'm not doing myself.
Yes.
From evangelism to commitment to giving to their own personal volunteerism. Yes. Getting involved in the community. Everything that I ask of them, I'm going to do it myself. And that does a couple of things. It sort of eliminates the illusion that I'm over them, and it creates more of a partnership that we're doing this together. So in that partnership, it strengthens trust. And a volunteer, someone who's going to voluntarily give me their time and their commitment. The only kind of real power and authority I have in the church is trust. Yes. So if they don't trust me, it's hard to lead a group that doesn't trust you. And if they don't know you, it's hard for them to trust you. Yes. So being involved with them, with our common goals and activities, modeling that, assisting them, that's a big one. And then including them into the decision-making process for the direction of the groups that they lead and the direction of the church. Yeah. So it's once, if somebody's going to give a lot of their time and energy to build up the church and their own communities around them, and I go in and I make decisions without consulting them, I can imagine that makes them feel belittled, not considered. Why am I doing this? What am I doing this for? So I pull these people in because they're important to me. They're a vital part of the process. And I ask them, what do they think? Now, ultimately, we may choose to, we may not agree, but just the fact that I always want to know what they think, and I don't make a decision without consulting them and wanting their feedback. It makes them know that they are, in fact, a leader, whether they're paid or not, and that I respect them. And so out of that respect, it builds a two-way bridge of trust, of partnership, and and so those are the two things that I've been learning a lot, and I try to put into practice.
I tell you, when I hear the principle of getting their input and their buy-in, and what that does for someone, it changes from, hey, this is Rob's church, what Rob wants to do, and what Rob is, trying to. No, this is our church,
right? Or
this is my church,
right?
This is my group. I have ownership here.
And in truth, scripturally, it is our church. It's not the leader's church. It's not even my church,
right?
It is our church, and so I really want everyone to feel like that. This is our church, and so because it's ours and it's yours too, I need to know what you think.
Right.
So absolutely.
Well, I love the principle of showing appreciation, building partnership, establishing trust. I think again, as people are tuning in and they're thinking about expanding their leadership, repertoire and growing in that skill, those are core areas. You can't get around. People sometimes think leadership and there's somebody's bossing people around.
Right. Exactly.
And
especially, that does happen, but it shouldn't happen. And it creates some off dynamics
because people are appealing to the authority versus the relationship.
Right. Real relationships that last are not built off of authority and fear. This is important.
Yes.
Especially in because at some point people are going to say if that's kind of how it is, and there's a fear that's motivating them instead of partnership, appreciation, love, and respect,
right,
it will be overnight.
That's right.
And people will leave. People are in abusive relationships all the time.
It's real.
And they'll wake up and leave. Once they get the courage and they realize what's happening. And so I've learned this over the years. And so the one thing that's most important for me to consider is that everyone feels respected and heard, and we don't have to agree. And I still will respect somebody even if we don't agree.
Right.
And I'll go out of my way to make sure that they still feel respected.
That's right.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely.
And I like how you said love too, because love, I think about using the relationship and using love. I don't know if there's a more powerful motivator than love in and of itself. So fear lasts for a little while as a motivator,
True. And it's powerful.
It is powerful. But as the main way that I use motivation is not fear. But if somebody could get motivated on love, I mean, the things that even the crazy things people do for love.
Absolutely.
You guys moving as you've moved, even moving from where you guys were in Maryland to here, when I hear you describing it, I hear love. Right. I go, this guy loves influence, loves helping the community, loves building great things, and I want to build something great in Akron. Right. And so love's helped you to, will uproot your life and move you from place to place. Absolutely. Absolutely. And that's what drives us to want to continue to help people want to get to know God, how good he is. If it wasn't for just the compelling love that God has shown us, like we wouldn't be doing what we're doing. We wouldn't have the motivation, the understanding, because he taught us what that is and the full extent of it. You were able to imitate that and lead from that point of view, not out of fear, but out of love and faith. It's so much greater and powerful than leading from a place where people feel threatened, bullied, or in fear. And there is those organizations, but again, how long will it last? That's right. Is it really built on the rock? I don't know. Marriages don't seem to really last like that, and I can't imagine any other sort of arrangement or relationship growing built on that. And hey, just on a personal note, if it was me, I would want people to love and respect me. That if I feel that from someone else, I'm not only all ears, but you're going to get some of my time and attention. Yes. And if there's devotion there, then I'll give you devotion back. Right. So and I felt that from you, right? I feel like even when my wife and I, we were boyfriend and girlfriend, we were looking around at couples. Hey, who do we admire? Who do we respect? Whose influence do we want over our relationship? We want our relationship to be set up for success. We want to grow. We want to do great things in the community.
Right.
But we looked around and we were like, we looked at you and your wife, Shanika, and went, this is the kind of couple that we want involved. We want them to influence us and help us. We respected you guys, love you guys. But I felt that in return. I felt like there's so much love that you guys have shared for us. You've respected us tremendously. And we're like, hey, we're just trying to learn from you guys. But there's so much respect you showed in the process. It's made it a beautiful relationship. So I'm grateful for that.
Yeah. Most of that came from my wife. I just want to be clear about that. She is awesome, I have to say.
Yes.
No, but we love you guys too. Absolutely. It's been quite an incredible partnership that's been built over the last few years. And so look forward to seeing what the way God uses it in the future.
That's right. I'm pumped. Well, let's bring it in for a landing. But before we do, I want to bring it back to baseball.
Yep. Okay.
So you said you did high school baseball, college baseball, and are you still connected with the baseball community now?
That's a great question. Well, I do wish I could still play, but being on the brink of 40, the way and with two boys, I stay connected to baseball. Teaching it to them. So they heard that their dad played baseball back in the day, and they both on their own accord said, yeah, we want to play baseball. So, whether it's baseball or anything else, if my kids say they want to do something, I say, okay, it's a commitment. Once you sign up, you're going to finish the whole season.
That's right.
So I've stayed connected to baseball and feel compelled to want to give back to it. Through my boys. So I signed them both up. We just spent a few months doing the whole practicing at home together, going to the park. So it's creating these bonding experiences and memories that I had with my father with my boys. So there's a special bond there. But in addition to that, going back to even just influencing the community, I said yes to coaching both of their teams at the same time. 2 different teams.
Wow.
That was crazy. I won't do that again. But I said yes to coaching both of them. And man, what a wonderful experience, because here again, this is something that the community is excited about. They're involved in, and it's still one of the few outlets in our society, Little League sports, youth sports, where people are looking for bonds. They're looking for connection. They're looking for mentoring. They're looking for encouragement. They're looking for a team to be a part of. And so, man, I can't think of a better community that I want to build up and make better. Other than the church community, right? This one is very special to me. So, yes, it's a lot of time. I gotta say, a lot of time and late nights, getting back, late dinners. But I love it. I love giving back to the community by coaching other kids and getting to know the parents through that process. So I'll continue to be involved in that as long as they'll let me say yes. Right. Hey. One day it's not going to be cool to be dad and coach. I understand this,
but I mean, I think I look at your life and I'm going, okay, so he leads the church, power lifter, coaching 2 teams, right? Thriving marriage. You take care of your household. It's a very serious responsibility you take care of and you do great at. Is there anything that you don't do?
Oh, lots of things. Ask my wife sometimes. There's a lot of things I don't do. I try cooking. It's hit or miss.
Okay, I got it.
I don't do a lot of song leading.
Hey, me neither, bro. Hey, I'll give you a pound on that one.
It's just not there. You got to know where your talents lie.
Every time they ask me to do it, people say, somebody says, thank you for trying.
Right.
Indicating it's not a gift.
That's right.
Appreciate the effort, the attempt. Do not appreciate the talent.
That's right. My boys love basketball. They want me to coach them in basketball. And I said, I'm sorry, I can't do that because I don't have the skill to pass on to you. I certainly know my limitations.
Sure.
Absolutely.
Sure. Well, listen, thanks for joining.
Yep.
Whenever you want to invite me back to speak, you let me know.
Absolutely.
And we'll podcast again. We're talking about sports, and we're talking about marriage. I think That's been heavy on my mind. Just want to be able to help marriages around us. But
you've got some great content and ideas about that.
I'm excited. I'm pumped. But thanks for joining the show. Again, if you're tuning in, I'm here with Rob Cochran. We're in Akron, Ohio.
Yep.
This is the Strong Life Coach podcast where we speak life, coach life, write life, and lead life. And if you're tuning in, be sure to like it, comment, share it, and don't forget to subscribe. Thank you. Have a great one.
All right.
Thanks, Rob.
Thank you.